understand not being able to see the little circle go over your name and stuff like that. Just understanding who's saying what. So that's basically it, and that's kind of how the meetings are going to go thus far. And the only other thing to mention is to the chair is that if someone drops off, and you lose them, you could still take a vote as long as that person being there doesn't merit a quorum. So.
Okay.
And that's my other spiel, but I'll wait for the rest.
Okay.
You actually asked me here for.
Well, thank you. That's helpful. Can you just define for me what a quorum is?
Yeah, it's 50% plus one of, so I guess it's 51% of members.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, great.
And you need to have a quorum to vote on anything. I don't know if you guys vote on anything here, so.
We do vote to approve our minutes. I think that's what we generally vote on. Yeah,
so you have to have a quorum. Elisa can share with you the email that I sent her, or Claudia, or if you have any questions.
Perfect. Thank you.
Claudia, perhaps the chat, the body of the email.
I'll just I'll have the primer. I'll put the primer in there. I got it.
All right, Ellen and Kim, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Go ahead. Hi, I'm Kim Little and my daughter Ellen, and we're both from Tolland.
Very good. Welcome, Ellen and Kim. Donna?
Hi, I'm Donna Clausen. I'm from the town of Mansfield, and my daughter Dawn is someone that's received services from the department.
Great. Adriana, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Adriana Ramirez, and I'm the Bilingual Family Support Coordinator for CTFSI.
Great. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Elisa?
Hi, everyone. I'm Elisa Velardo. I'm the Regional Director for DDS North Region. Good to see everyone tonight.
And Claudia?
Hi, I'm Claudia Newman. I'm Executive Secretary for the North Region for DDS.
Great. And I'm Kathleen Hayes. Oh, now I'm getting the echo again. I am the chair of the Regional Advisory Committee, and I am an attorney within the field of special needs planning, so try to stay involved in the new planning techniques and just connected with families to understand what the needs are out there and make sure that we're responding to them the right way. Claudia, I don't know, do you have an agenda that you could share?
I can try to post it in the chat, but
Okay. And I don't know if
it's basically
I
the same, and then I added Kevin first, so it's our usual standing agenda.
Okay, so I'll pull that up. I don't know that I got a copy of the minutes from last meeting. Is that because it was a joint meeting?
Yeah. So the minutes from the November one were posted on the web. They were actually done by Joe Carvalho from the Commissioner's office. Great. But they're posted with our other minutes.
All right. So there's nothing to vote on, which is good. All right. Let's see. So I'm just trying to recall, I think, what comes first. We usually talk about our legislative updates, I believe. I don't have any updates. I'm sure Kevin does. I know the session's starting on February 9th. And I think, is it Kevin or someone? I think will start, perhaps, I'm just going to turn it over to Kevin. Go ahead, Kevin.
Sure. So a couple things I believe you asked me here tonight to talk about, one of them being legislative stuff, but I'm gonna actually start with the other part. We're gonna go alphabetical with my title, C for communications. So one of the things what we're doing is we're looking at website upgrades. We're putting together a survey. I literally just sat with or I attempted to sit with some IT folks, but it ended up not working out. So we're going to reschedule the meeting. But basically, we're going to put together a survey, which I'll then share with this group and encourage everyone to use it yourselves and also share it with other people. The idea is that we're trying to get feedback on how our current website is structured, and we all know it's not structured well for individuals and family members looking for information. And I guess we're trying to get that very data specific information with also stuff that we got from the commissioner's Seeds of Change and other sort of things he did this summer. The legislative updates, there really isn't too much right now. As you mentioned, session starts on the first the February 9th, and it's a short session, and it ends, I believe it's May 5th, May 4th, don't quote me on it, but it's the beginning of May, so it's a short session. And the agency doesn't necessarily have too many big bills up. It's mostly technical changes. I guess you could say our biggest bill passed last year. It was our DDS bill, our agency bill that did a bunch of stuff. I submitted some, like I said, some technical change items. We'll see what takes. We're waiting to hear back from OPM and that sort of stuff. And then the last, and I forgot to mention, Rod normally sends around legislative updates. We don't have an email list. It's this problem that we're trying to fix with the website updates and have an email sign up and all this other sort of stuff. So I'm going to ask you, and I didn't mention this to Elisa or Claudia yet, so it's fun shock, but I'm going to ask you guys just to bear with us just a little bit more and play phone tag, phone tree, whatever you want to call it. And we'll just try to disseminate these legislative updates to you guys, and you can share them out with whomever you want. Elisa and Claudia, I talked to Rod, and our plan is to send them out on Fridays, similar to what the commissioner does with his message. So it's just, I'm not trying to build a new list of names because I'm trying to get people to sign up on the website, but it's not there yet. So, but I also want to give you guys the information. So it's got to bear with us just a little bit. And then I guess the last thing I kind of want to mention is, with a lot of the issues that we mentioned in these Seeds of Change and the regional discussions that we found out is communications issues. And one of the big things is, look, I come from a background not from this area, and I think one of the big things is what we found is grassroots, working. It's kind of making sure that, I mean, we're all engaged, right? But connecting, the family members with other family members and that sort of stuff on the regional basis, whatever. So I guess where I'm going with this is that I'm trying to encourage more people to get involved in RACs, right? And seeing that you guys are already involved in a RAC, I'm encouraging you guys to think about maybe getting involved in the DS Council. We're looking for more people to fill these roles and diversify what we have currently. So and I think the only other thing to add, going back to the legislative update, is that I don't really have any info yet on if it's going to be virtual, hybrid, or in person. I'm not sure what they're doing yet. They haven't said anything. So the legislative leaders haven't come out with anything yet. So that's about it. I'll stop and take questions.
Hi, Kevin. This is
And
Kim.
Ellen, oh, good. I was going to remind you to say who you were. You didn't need it.
I remember. My question, I guess, is definitely about communication. What I find sometimes, it's a lot of people that I attend different groups with are all saying, well, you're on the rack. Well, what is that? When does that happen? So people want to know, they want to get involved, but they're not always aware. So you're right about the communication. Is there a way to collect emails of parents? Could case managers collect emails of parents this year to help when they have their IPs?
So, so that is currently the process right now, right? The case managers basically hold the case. I don't want to say, oh, and I'm already forgetting my own rule, Kevin Bronson. So yeah, the case manager kind of holds all the power right now. It's hard to say, but like they have all the direct contacts, right, to the families, to the guardians, and that sort of stuff. eCameras, our system has some, what I found, but it's minuscule at best, right? So I just talked to these IT people and I said, our population is very specific, right? Our stakeholders are a very specific group of people. They're not necessarily, what I've found is they don't love technology. Not they don't love technology. It's email over social media to get messaging out, right? So I guess that's just the long and the short way of saying it is like, I don't know. I would just encourage you to try to. I don't know. And I would encourage you to help me.
I
help
will.
people learn, right?
Can I, Kim Little again?
Yeah.
Can I post it? I'm on a commission in my town, a commission for people with disabilities, and can I post it there? Can I also share the team's link so people could join?
Yep. This is a public meeting, so yes.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess another concern is if we get everybody's email and we start to disseminate this information, I'm concerned about things going into spam.
Oh, sorry. I realize I forgot to answer your first part of the question. FEC rules don't let us collect emails and put them into a list. You have to, it's like an opt-in. So you have to sign up, right? That's this problem is like, even if I pull together an email list right now, is that when we go to this live big email registration thing where you can select legislative updates, whatever, you'd still have to opt in. It's a federal law. So
it's difficult, I think, Kim Little again.
Yeah.
It's difficult in terms of, being a parent in this world. I think we have a very difficult time having time to be able to find how to connect with you. So it's almost, if we could send something out to people, it might jog their mind to say, oh my gosh, I definitely want to sign up for this.
Kevin, I'm already forgetting my own rules again. Kevin Bronson. Honestly, I'll be the first person to tell you is I'm probably about 8 months into my job here, and I'm still learning. So if you have something that you have an idea or suggestion and you want to email it to me, please. I'll put my email in the chat. I'm very approachable. So yeah, I'm happy to take any and all suggestions. Feel free to send me an email. I'll type it in right now.
Sorry, I was on mute. Adriana, this is Kathleen Hayes. If you wanted to ask your question.
Hi, thank you. It's Adriana Ramirez. I was just following up on Kim Little's topic about gathering names and things, and I wanted to ask Kevin if part of the process that you're looking to do with the website is kind of like an opt-in button, just like most families, everybody's so used to signing up for newsletters and news groups. Everyone's so used to opt-ins as a way to capture QR codes, being able to post on the DDS website saying, hey, this is a link to opt-in, or as we as families and organizations are able to share that information, if that's kind of the process that you're looking to do to get the word out about RIC and other possible meetings that are public.
Yeah, Kevin Bronson, DDS. I don't know that answer yet. The email opt-in is just going to be something on the front page so we could start collecting emails, because we have a pathetic amount of emails right now as an agency, and that's, let's face it, that's the biggest reason why we're lacking in these communication stuff. But I don't know, right? Because like I said, this is not my background. So that's kind of why we want to put the survey out there and try to get feedback from as many stakeholders as possible. Because as my old boss used to say, the smartest person is the room. The smartest person in the room is realizing you're not the smartest person. I hope that answered your question.
This is Kathleen Hayes. Elisa, would you like to speak?
Elisa Velardo. I was piggybacking on Kevin's request to kind of share information about the regional advisory councils, and I can reach out to our case management supervisors and ask them to really urge their staff to remind families that the Regional Advisory Council is a forum that people can attend as guests, become familiar, and if they're interested, after becoming familiar with the council and are interested in becoming a member, that's an option as well. And so I think if I can ask our supervisors to extend the word, that may just spur the conversation, and that's a good way to get that information out to families across the region.
Kevin Bronson, DDS. On top of that is that the commissioner, I don't know if this RAC has met yet, Shannon Giacovino, our new Bud's person. She is going to be doing a lot of outreach, trying to, encourage more participation in RACs and the DS Council and that sort of stuff. I know that that's one of what she's looking to do. So I don't know if you've met with her yet, but that's probably something she might bring up.
This is Kathleen Hayes. I think it would be great if we could have her, Shannon, as a guest at one of our upcoming meetings.
This is Elisa Velardo. We certainly can. In fact, that's one of my items, is to talk about some folks that we'd like to join us in 2022.
Kathleen Hayes. Kevin, did you have anything further?
Kevin Bronson. No, I'm glad that I need to start remembering my own rules, because I have DS Council tomorrow. No, I would just say, look, send me an email. Any questions or any ideas or anything, I'm open to everything. There's no bad idea, right? And my theory is always ask. What's the worst someone can say? No, right? So that's it.
Great. Kathleen Hayes, thank you. All right, I think we are ready for your report, Elisa. Thank you, Kevin.
Elisa Velardo. Kevin, you're welcome to stay if you'd like. Elisa Velardo, Regional Director for DDS North Region. I'll give a little update on a couple items, and then I did want to talk about some topics that you'd like to explore more deeply in the year ahead. Due to the echo issue, I had to transfer to my phone, and so that's going to limit me from sharing my screen, unfortunately. So I'll try. I had some nice graphics that I was going to share, but I can describe vividly. We are in the process of the 2022 National Core Indicator process. Connecticut participates in NCI each year, but this is an important year in particular because NCI is now part of our waiver assurance. And so for those of you who are not familiar with the National Core Indicators Project, I would recommend that you just Google it. It's a really user-friendly website, and you can just get a ton of information on how Connecticut compares to other states across the country in a number of areas. And so you can see really vividly, and if you are so inclined, you can compare Connecticut to Kentucky or Connecticut to Minnesota. It's very user-friendly as far as the way you can lay out information. So where we are in the process, we've pulled a sample of, we have 600 surveys that we need to complete this year. And these surveys are across all people across the state within DDS. So the sample has been pulled. We have been gathering the names of staff that will be conducting the surveys, and we have staff from across the department, the regions, as well as our central office that participate in the surveys. The name of the website, if you Google National Core Indicators, you'll see their website. And then if you go in, I think there's a search bar and you can plug in Connecticut and you'll see the Connecticut data. It's always a little, it probably has data from like 2019 and 2020, that year. I don't know if last year's data is in yet. There's usually a little lag, but as I said, you can compare states and you can see strengths and areas that may be areas for focus. So we've been in the process. We've identified surveyors, our self-advocacy coordinators are surveyors, right on through your regional director. It's one of the things that I love to do. I require all of my direct reports to participate as surveyors because it just is an opportunity to talk with people and hear what they're satisfied with, what they need more access to, and you meet great people and you get great feedback. We're just in the process of going through the training. The training is virtual this year. It's intensive. There are multiple modules. And then after you complete the modules, there's a live, virtual, but live component to the training because they're really vigilant to make sure that there's inter-rater reliability and that I'm asking the same questions in the same way that Claudia would ask them or that Kevin would ask them. And if somebody responds a certain way, that may require clarification, it really provides guidance so that there's consistency in the way that the surveys are conducted. The surveys will be beginning shortly, and they extend through June 30th. So all 600 surveys have got to be completed by June 30th. North Region in particular will have about 175 surveys to complete. And for you to be aware, in case you're ever impacted about an NCI providers. Uh, I be sharing information about NCI, and I do every month at the provider meeting, so that if an individual, say, attends a day program and they need some support to coordinate their survey, we've had day providers that have helped with coordination. Last year was pretty much all virtual. This year we will see. Things are evolving. So I know many surveyors prefer to meet with people in person, but whether or not that'll be possible, I guess, remains to be seen at this point. I conducted surveys virtually last year, and they were great. So I think we were able to figure that out and connect with people, but I don't think there's anything better than sitting in somebody's living room or meeting with them in a preferred location and speaking one-on-one. So I wanted you to be aware of that. I can give you an update each month as we go through this process. And if you have a chance, take a look at the NCI website. And next month, when I don't have an echo and I'm actually connecting from my laptop, I promise that I'll show you some really cool graphics. So that's the NCI. I wanted to share with you a little bit about our remote support pilot project, which has been underway. We issued a notice of opportunity back in October, and we've identified 2 providers that are going to be participating in the remote supports pilot. They're Mid-State ARC and the ARC of Eastern Connecticut. So they each have identified 10 people that currently receive IHS services that are interested in piloting remote support services. And what remote support will do is allow people through technology, through two-way communication and other technology, have the ability to receive support virtually when somebody is not there in person. And so it's typically scheduled. There are technology providers. It's not. It's designed to supplement the in-person supports, and so the IHS services will still remain, but it allows people to really connect virtually. And honestly, I just came from another meeting right before this meeting, and it was a consortium of states that Connecticut belongs to that meets around enabling technology and assistive technology. And I was really excited that we're right in line with some of the technology that is emerging, and there's some really interesting research that is coming out that is looking at technology and its benefits, not just to assist in daily living, but in that whole area that we're all experiencing around connecting with other people, addressing feelings of isolation and loneliness, and just the way that technology can really be an integral part of people connecting with one another. And so I'm excited about the remote support pilot. We're going through training. We have about 80 DDS staff, and this is across the regions, central office, our public sector services that will be participating in enabling technology training. It's through a company called Shift. They're a national training company with a focus on enabling technology, and they've customized their training for Connecticut. So we have their enabling technology training, but they're also enhancing it with modules on remote support. And so DDS staff direct from case management through regional administration, through central office staff, nursing, psychology. Our public sector staff are going to be participating in this training. There's 3 different levels. There's the really enabling technology certification, and that is 3 to 4 hours. Then there's enabling technology integration specialist. That is 16 to 18 hours. And that's more, so one would be for people that are going to be, to have a real basic overview, understanding of assistive technology, and to be able to share that, communicate that with others. The integration specialist would be more for service planning and the kind of work that we're doing as we're rolling out remote support pilot. And then there's a leadership track, and a few folks will be participating in that. And that's how to guide your organization, your system, to really maximize the benefits of technology. So we met with providers today. We had our orientation to the shift training, and the goal, the timeline is that the first individuals will be utilizing the remote support technology come February 8th. So that's moving along, very exciting. The providers that we're working with, they are well on their way. They've been leaders in the use of technology to really support independence for quite some time. And so we're excited to work with them. And the purpose of the pilot is to really learn from their experience, any barriers they may have, how our funding works. Does that all work as it needs to? Any benefits that they identify. The technology, the systems that are in place have the ability to gather quite a bit of data. And so that will be helpful for us as well. We have some folks within DDS that are real techie people. And so they'll use that data to really analyze, what's working for people and what we want to replicate. So that is exciting. The next item that I have on my list, and I didn't put this first because I feel like I always lead with COVID. And while COVID continues to be a main concern, we are meeting weekly at this point statewide to look at the COVID numbers, and within our service system, as within everywhere else, we've seen those numbers increase quite a bit. What I can say is, and we're seeing those numbers increase quite a bit for people that are vaccinated. So we look at now when people test positive, but when they test positive, have they been vaccinated? What the potential exposure was, and how are they doing? And so, while the not so good news is that the numbers definitely have increased, the good news is the severity seems, by and large, much less intense than it was during previous spikes. So not as many people hospitalized, people recovering more quickly, and that's good. But that doesn't mean that is the case for everyone. And we've had people who have had hospitalizations, and we have had some people who have passed. But the vast majority of people are vaccinated, and the vast majority of those folks are recovering fairly quickly. So what we are doing is we focused quite a bit on PPE, and we've expanded our delivery of N95 and K95 masks. Those are the higher quality masks with instructions for the appropriate fitting of those masks for our self-directing individuals. Supplies are going out to the employers of record, and so not only are they getting the higher quality masks, but home test kits distributed. Home test kits were distributed to providers for the North region last week. We had a huge response. I'll pull up the number. I don't have it right in front of me, but I think 45,000 test kits for the North region alone. And so our focus has been to really make sure that that our staff, that provider staff, and that families have the supplies they need. And the good news is that the test kits have become available. We're distributing that, and that we have an absolute fine, abundant supply of all of other PPE. So things have been in the right direction as far as that goes. Any questions about any of that before I have other items, but I figured I will check in and see if there are any questions thus far. All right, then I'll continue. This is Elisa Bellardo, Regional Director, DDS North Region. I wanted to share with you that we had two public hearings on the DDS draft 5-year plan. So I know participated in public hearing. There was really good feedback. We're in the process of incorporating that feedback, and the key areas of focus in the 5-year plan are daily life and employment, community living, healthy living, safety, security, social and spirituality, and advocacy and engagement. And the areas I think you'll find connect quite a bit with Seeds of Change conversations we had over this past summer, and the regional forum that was held. So we really tried to incorporate the feedback from those forums, and based on the feedback from the public hearings, will continue, that document will continue to evolve. I wanted to let you know that in response to the higher positivity rate of COVID, we did pause our respite centers. I'm hoping it's a very brief pause, but when we post holidays started to see the numbers go up, and not slowly, very quickly, we made the decision that to bring people from various households together for respite was not recommended. So we have paused respite, and we're already planning to reopen respite. So I think we're developing some protocols within our respite centers around testing, rapid tests, and I think that'll be helpful to safely reopen respite. I did want to share on the service end of things. I said this is in no particular order, and I know I'm jumping around. That each region has been authorized to expand our CCH offerings by 15 per region this fiscal year. And so if there are people that are interested in CCH that have expressed that interest, that opportunity may be available. As far as supported housing goes, we've talked about that in previous meetings. That continues to just expand, and it's really quite exciting. So the first supported housing, I think we have talked about I-dash, and I think people think of the model as I-dash. I-dash was a very specific RFP that providers responded to, and the I-dash programs for the North region were three. Two that are offered by Favar. One is Bear Woods in Canton, which opened and is in full operation, and is really quite popular. I have the opportunity to see little notes that some of the residents and their families have shared, and people are really enjoying their new apartments. Lavender Fields is the second Favar I-dash, and that is in Bloomfield. That is also from a ground up construction. And we met with the developer earlier this week, and he is hopeful that developers are hopeful inherently. I would say best guess is maybe February is when Lavender Fields will open up. There's an outside chance that it could be by the end of this month, but even he thought that probably wouldn't happen. And so we're probably looking at February, but soon. Those people are identified and are ready to go. And then the third is the Hark I-dash Clover Gardens. And that's a little different, whereas the two Favar developments were from the ground up build. The Hark I-dash is really historic mansions that have been retrofit to be these apartment units. So they've had to work within the historical society guidelines and preserve the integrity of the history of the buildings. And so, whereas from a ground up development, you can have consistency. I think one of the neat things about the Hark I-dash is the uniqueness of each. There are no two apartments that are the same, but they have some very beautiful detail. There's ceramic fireplace fixtures. There's historical woodwork and lighting fixtures, and so each apartment is absolutely unique. And so they are working, and they've had their first individuals move in. Transition meetings have been happening, and so one of the buildings, because they're separate buildings as opposed to one complex, the certificate of occupancy came a little later than the others. And that seemed to work out well because it allowed people to move in and stagger the move in. And so we have people that are having their transition meetings right now that will be moving in shortly. And so those are the three I-dash programs. But supported housing has grown beyond I-dash. And so we have it's called the Trout Brook development. It doesn't have a Fairwoods or Lavender Fields or Clover Gardens names, I don't think as yet, but it may. But it's in West Hartford, and CRI has partnered with a developer. We meet with them on a regular basis. That is a ground up development. And as of last Friday when we met, it looks like we're looking at May of 2022. So that's happening quickly. Referrals are being reviewed right now. And then there are other providers that are just at the beginning of engaging with developers. So I really do see that this supported housing model is something that has really appealed to a lot of people. Technology seems to be integrated really nicely so that people are able to share staffing supports, but access the staff as they need them. And so I'm looking at seeing that evolve further. Along the same lines with supported housing expanding, is the fact that we have had some vacancies in some of our CLA and CRS settings. And some of those vacancies have extended on for some time. So for those providers that have had extended vacancies, and obviously COVID has been a factor with that, we're meeting with them to look at what we can do to support providers. They can't sustain long-term vacancies. And we have needs, we have individuals that have needs. And so we've been meeting with providers within the region. We do have a pause on CLA and CRS development with any new development having to be authorized through our commissioner. But we do have capacity in those settings. And so we've really been working with providers to see what we can do, how we can partner to really use the capacity that's already in place. Kevin mentioned that we have a new ombudsperson, Shannon Jacobino. Shannon has been great. She's been participating in multiple meetings, and I was going to check with this group about having her come to our February meeting. And Kathleen, you already mentioned an interest, and so I will invite her. And the other person who's just started is Dr. Cheryl Ellis. She's our Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And this has been a position that we've identified for quite some time. And we've done some work internally within our department around having conversations around equity and inclusion, and having Dr. Ellis join us. She comes from DDS, a psychologist is her background, but she was the liaison to statewide diversity, equity, and inclusion committee within her work at DDS, and we're just thrilled to have her join us within DDS to help us to move forward in those areas. And so I thought it might be nice to invite her just so that she understands what the regional advisory councils are, and inviting her to a number of meetings just so she can get acclimated. And so if there's interest, I can invite her to our February meeting as well.
This is Kathleen Hayes. Yes, I think that would be great.
This is Elisa Velardo. Thank you, Kathleen. And then the last thing I had on, Rick, I think before you joined us, we were made aware that there are some new rules. And so each time you speak, you have to identify yourself when you're having a public meeting in this virtual platform. And so that's why we continue to do that. Chuckling. I just wanted to ask the council if there are other areas that you're interested in that that I can either respond to if I'm able, or that may be helpful to have other guests from across the department to come and join us at future meetings.
Would Kim Little, parent, and would it be possible to have Amber Burke attend to talk about employment for people with disability?
This is Elisa Velardo. Absolutely, Kim. I think that would be I think that's a great suggestion.
Elise.
It's been a while since Amber joined us at a RAC meeting, and I think that's a great idea. I can invite her. I think introducing Shannon and Cheryl
yeah,
my time. And so I can certainly invite Amber to join us, and she can speak maybe about some of the things that are going on statewide.
Great.
Regarding employment, as well as we have some pretty cool initiatives in the North region that she might be able to share as well. Perhaps she'll have one or more of her staff come. We have Marty Zog in the North region that works closely with our region, and so we can maybe have her share kind of a statewide perspective, and then what's happening particularly in our region.
Great, thank you.
This is Rick Rothstein. I apologize for joining late. I had a conflict meeting that involved my son's provider. But I would like to point out that Shannon has hit the ground running in her ombudsman role. She has reinstituted something we've missed for a long time, and that's the monthly ombudsman report, which is available on her webpage. She's figuring to post those around mid-month because the RAC meetings are then, and the council meets mid-month as well, third Thursday. So if you want to see what Shannon's up to, she's been very busy in the first month or so. You can take a look. No names, just the nature of the problem, and to some extent that you can say what you did to help with them. The council will be looking to those reports and our discussions with Shannon to see what patterns there might be of things that we can help shape future DDS policy. And I'm sure the commissioner and his staff are doing the same.
This is Kathleen Hayes. Just two thoughts. One is that I had, if people are interested, I'd be happy to speak at one of our meetings about supported decision making. I think I've mentioned previously that there's a statewide coalition that I'm a part of, and we issued a supported decision making guidelines. And right now, part of our mission and efforts is education and kind of spreading the word. And the secondary piece will be proposing legislation. But for now, I think it would be helpful to kind of learn about what that is and how it can start being implemented. The second thing I was going to say was, I don't know who would be the right person, Elisa, but it's really interesting, all of these conversations around development. And I know there's some families that just simply want to learn more about development opportunities in housing, even if it's private development, if it's families pooling resources to develop even just a home or a conglomerate of homes. Would it be CRI as a potential speaker, or are there any particular developers that you think I could reach out to that might be willing to speak to our group?
It's interesting. The person that comes to mind is Josh Galora within DDS. He is our liaison on the housing end of these developments. So, and he's fantastic. He could probably also speak about NCI. He is the head of our business analytics division, but he partners with the region when we're having these meetings with developers, and could explain the low income tax credit program, and has insight into the guidelines. When these developments are occurring, Department of Housing is really overseeing the low income tax credit part of the development. And so while DDS gets the updates on the construction and the timeframes, and we coordinate with a third party that does the RAP vouchers, Department of Housing is really doing the oversight in terms of making sure that all of the requirements of that low income tax credit program are in place. And Josh could speak to that, and he works across all of these developments outside of our region, across the state. So he would be a great presenter to give an overview, but then answer any questions that you have.
I think that would be great. I think one of the best things is, I think all of the supported housing developments are wonderful. I find that it's often difficult, at least with my clients, if they don't have residential funding already, they're trying to think about some sort of creative solutions, and some of that is pooling resources with other families. So I think talking with Josh and understanding how the process might be applied to individual families as opposed to providers would be extremely helpful.
That's interesting, Kathleen, because when we talk about the supported housing, it's usually with these RAP vouchers, rental assistance program vouchers, and so DDS commits to a certain period of time. But there also have been times that very similar developments are happening throughout the state. There's a lot of development going on, housing development, and sometimes they just need tenants. And there are times that we've had a developer reach out and say, "Hey, if I'm going to meet my threshold for tax credit, the low income tax credit, we need applicants," and that's worked out really well for some people that just need housing. It may be an individual that lives with family that needs, improved housing conditions. At times it's worked out for people that do have some either in-home support funding, and sometimes it's just worked out for people who need housing options. And so maybe we could speak to that as well.
That would be great. This is Kathleen. Thank you.
This is Elisa. In terms of the timing, we could either ask Josh to come in March, because we could literally talk about that for an hour easily. If you want Amber to come in February, I can see, of course, this is depending on their schedules, or we can ask each of them to come and just limit the amount of time speaks. What are you?
This is Kathleen Hayes. My personal preference would be to have them at separate meetings, because I do think that there will be a lot of questions and participation on the respective topics.
This is Elisa Velardo.
Elisa, I don't know if I'm the only one that can't hear you. Your audio is cutting out. And it might be, let me put myself on mute. Maybe that will help.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I found that this reverberation on Teams has been happening intermittently, and the only solution that I've found is that if everyone mutes and just one person unmutes at a time, it seems to minimize it. I go full days without it happening at all, and then I'll go into a meeting and I haven't figured out exactly what's going on, but it's not unique. It's not unique at all to this meeting, or it just seems to be happening across the state. So depending on their schedules, I will schedule one for February and one for March, and I don't know in what order, but I'll reach out to both of them and see if I can schedule one for each of our next 2 meetings.
This is Kathleen Hayes. Ellen, or Kim, do you have something you'd like to say?
Kim Little, yes, I do. Can we know ahead of time? It would be helpful to know who's coming when, because then when I publicize it, I can be sure that I'm getting parents who might be concerned about either housing or employment. That would be really helpful. And Kathleen, I've been looking for families to add my daughter to, because she doesn't get any residential funding. So I'm trying to find another family who might want to go in with us. We have a plan. So
Great.
This is Rick Rothstein. With regard to development by families, the key issue really is the funding for residential services. The rent is, or the cost of the home is, there's an upfront cost, but the major expenditure is for the services, and there are few families who can fund those on their own. So pooling together I know a few families have done it, but the families that have done it have either had very significant in-home support funds that they've been able to convert and pool together, or already have approval for residential services and therefore have residential funding.
This is Kathleen Hayes. Yeah, that's a fair point, Rick. I think I see it as a multi-pronged issue. One is the place, affording the rent, identifying the place, making sure it's accessible, and also the supports. And the supports are the more expensive piece. I have found that with community first choice, the opportunities do tend to open up much more than prior to that accessibility. Yeah, yes, Elisa.
This is Elisa, just responding to Kim's point. Yes, as I reach out to Amber and Josh, once I confirm, I can let Claudia know, and she can send out an email just so that you know who's coming in February and who's coming in March.
This is Kathleen Hazen. I noticed you had your hand raised a couple of times. Do you have something you'd like to add?
Hi, this is Annette. I was just responding to you, Kathleen, where you offered to speak yourself on the supported decision making. I'm all for that if you're willing to do it when you have a chance, set that up.
That's great. Thanks, Annette. This is Kathleen Hayes, and I'm happy to be on for April if that works, and to even be pushed to a later meeting depending on Amber and Josh's schedules. Probably not an earlier meeting because I have to prepare, but April or otherwise would be fine for me. Elisa?